Popular South African serial killers are known for their extra barbarous and brutal crimes. South Africa is one of the countries with a high rate of violent crimes, especially in specific rural areas. One of the major reasons immigrants have departed from the country is the high crime rates. Some believe that the prevalence of serial murders is caused by a less robust economy, weak infrastructure, crowding, and rapid urbanization. Who are the most ruthless South African serial killers? There are a couple of men who have committed the most brutal murders in South Africa. Who are they? First on the list is Cedric Makok. Born in 1965, Cedric Makok stood out from most other killers as he had no weapons or victim preferences. People of any race, age, and sex were suitable for him, as long as he could rape, mutilate, and kill them. He is popularly known as the Wummerpan Killer, as it was this part of Johannesburg in which he attacked most of his victims between 1996 and 1997. Cedric began his cruel acts by robbing taxi drivers and shop owners, whereafter he would ruthlessly beat them to death. He then started attacking couples where he would murder the men as the women watched. He would then rape the women and kill them after he was done. Initially, the police thought that two separate people were making the killings. After thorough investigations, they realized that it was one killer all through. During his trial, he pleaded not guilty. Luckily, surviving female victims emerged and testified against him. Cedric's behavior in court was outrageous, as he would scream and cry in a manner that caused distress. He even threatened the female state prosecutor, claiming that he would rape and kill her just as he did to other victims. Eventually, he was convicted of 14 rapes, 26 attempted murders, 27 murders, 41 robberies, and the unlawful possession of ammunition and firearms. He was declared guilty of 114 of 134 charges, and sentenced for a total of 1,340 years behind bars. Second on our list is Elias Xitavhudzi. In the 1950s, Elias killed at least 16 men and women in Atteridgeville, South Africa. His victims were only white people, and this caused much distress during the peak years of apartheid. Before his capture, he had received the nickname Pangaman, which is a local word for a long broad-bladed knife or machete. This was the item he used to murder his victims. Following his capture and conviction, he was hanged to death on November 14, 1960. Third on the list is Jimmy Makok. Also known as the Jesus Killer, Makok is described as an unremorseful psychopath. During his younger years, he frequently got into fights with others, set things on fire, escaped home, and even got involved in bestiality. While living in the streets, he got a tattoo of the name Jesus on his upper lip. This was the characteristic that surviving victims would remember when asked to describe their attacker. Before attacking his victims in Philippi, Cape Town, he would first stalk them, mostly sitting on a hill, so that he could get a clear view of the farm laborers' local houses and farms. When darkness would kick in, he would attack his targets, raping and killing them using an axe or hammer. Their bodies were thrown in dams. Makok was captured after his phone was collected at a crime scene. He wrote letters to his family, where he would confess to murders and rape in detail. He was found guilty of 47 charges, including 19 counts of rape and 16 murders. 5 of his victims were between 60 and 70. Jimmy will be eligible for parole in 2031. Fourth in the list is Jack McGill. Better known as the West End serial killer, McGill managed to lure his victims by claiming that he was a Zion Christian prophet and preacher. Through his false title, he was able to entice women and take them to the West End brick and clay factory. This was close to his home in Western area, south of Johannesburg. Upon arrival, he would rape and kill them. Luckily, 2 women were able to survive the terrifying encounter with the murderer. One of them testified that he offered her a ride and was prophesying over her on their journey. He then drove to an isolated place where he ruthlessly attacked her. Victims were linked to him from this location and his tactics of murder, which were either beating to death or strangling. Jack McGill was convicted of 52 charges on February 17, 2011. This followed the ruling of 16 life sentences in prison without the possibility of parole. Fifth on our list is Olaf Fosse. The Zulu people of South Africa believe in the existence of Tokalish. This is a tiny, evil-spirited, hairy, half-animal, half-human. If one were to meet him and look in his eyes, he or she would die at that moment. Additionally, no man can refuse to grant him his wishes. If one commits robbery, rape, or murder, and can convince the community that it is the Tokalish that made him do it, the offense may be overlooked. Olaf Fosse was a weak Sangoma traditional healer. While seeking the guidance of another Sangoma, he claimed to have been possessed by a Tokalish. In this state of possession, he went on an 18-month killing spree. His first crime was raping and killing a young girl in the presence of his mistress. As she called the police, he managed to escape. After mutilating and murdering 5 children, he was caught but still managed to escape. Since body parts are necessary for most Sangoma treatments, it was suspected that he would sell them to obtain financial gains. After escaping, he managed to stay on the loose for 1 month before being captured. In his trial, he claimed to be innocent as it was the Tokalish's doings. However, two psychologists refused to believe him as they claimed that he got sexual gratification from inflicting pain. Eventually, he was convicted of 15 murders and sentenced to death through hanging. Several local Zulu chiefs requested to be present during the hanging to ensure that the evil spirit had departed.